Off the Track continues with Gordon Cunningham, who, yes, took over the mantle as the #1 vendor at the Curraghmore sales in 2013. It was, though, a horse born by Zabeel that took your attention. Yeah, you can frown a little bit. Graham Hunt, you rang him and said, hey, listen, you better come out and have a look at this weanling. I think it's all right. Well, this foal?
All right, you're referring to Efficient.
Yeah, I am referring to Efficient.
Yeah, no, look, I'm usually reserved in my assessment of the foals when they're born, etc. Don't go out of my way to paint, an average picture, but they all improve anyway, you know. But he was a good foal. He was a very good foal from day one.
He went to the sales and made 220,000. Well, it wasn't huge money for
no,
Zabeel.
it wasn't. There was a lot of other horses that made more money at the time. He look, we always rated him, but we had a good draft that year, and I remember showing him having a parade to Roger James and Jack and Mark Morundi one day, and they were always buying fillies. And I remember I can still see the horse doing on our lawn, and I said to Roger, you might have to get the lads into a colt this year.
Yeah.
Just on what he did that particular day, you know, he was very fluent, etc., etc. And he was a popular enough horse at the sales. I remember Troy Corstens was really, really keen on him. But he put his hand up well enough for Graham Rogerson to buy him himself. Now, he didn't buy him for
Lord Williams.
No, he didn't at the time, no, not at all. And Graham bought him and eventually broke him in. I don't think Lloyd wanted him because he was grey. And Paul Pertap gave him a huge rap apparently when he was broken in, and Lloyd, being the good friend he was of Roger, sort of took the horse then.
And not only that, I mean, Graham stayed on the horse and Scott Williams.
Yeah, well, there was a little bit of a complication there then, because I said to Graham in advance of the sale, look, these lads like the horse enough that if it was any help to you, they'd be happy to stay in for a little bit. Yeah. So they duly did, and sold down their shares amongst friends to, you know, etc., etc.
But Lloyd isn't one to have syndicates.
That's right, and but he was. There was only one way to buy him, and that was Graham couldn't go back on his word to his good friends Mike Sellers and co. And you know, I don't think they got a bill for 2 or 3 years.
No, I'd spoken to him. Scotty's my accountant. He's the same way. Hey, listen, the Melbourne Cup. I mean, you've been over to see the Derby win, and of course he comes out and absolutely does him in the Melbourne Cup. Yeah,
I just got up. I remember, pardon me, I got up about a minute before the race to watch it.
What do you mean, get up?
Like, got up from the farm to in time to see the
race.
Getting
out of bed. Geez, you're working.
But you can see him there when he pulled out, and his form going into it wasn't huge. I don't think they'd worked him out.
Right down the outside.
But he was always going to win from there, you know. Yeah. And still.
Great pride. I mean, this is the race. I mean, there's races, no doubt, in Ireland that you'd love to win, etc. This is the race. I know we talk about the Cox Plate, but the Melbourne Cup's the one.
Listen, he is, and he was even always going to win there, even though he's still not in front. And absolutely, like, and he was the first horse regardless of what significant it was. He was the first New Zealand bred horse since Farlap to win, or any horse since Farlap to win a Derby and a Cup in consecutive years. I think he's the only Zabeel to win a VRC Derby. 2 years ago, as an 8-year-old, he was the highest rated New Zealand bred stayer in Australia, and just got beaten a nose in the Sydney Cup. So just watching even the Melbourne Cup there again, and he's the last New Zealand bred winner of the Melbourne Cup. Yeah. You know, hopefully that changes soon, but but that's the significance of the horse, and I'm certain he was, like, as Guillotine went on to show, like, Guillotine was trained as a stayer, but he won the Dato Chin Nam and beat all the Cox Plate horses that year. He was a hugely talented horse. And
I want to talk about some of the horses that come through your bar. You talked about Guillotine, fully fledged, 2 horses that are now at stud. But your presentation as a weanling sale, you have been, we talk about taking over at the yearling sale time. You have been the leading vendor at the weanling sale for 8 years now. You've taken that to another level. When did the focus come to going into the weanlings and that market?
Well, I'll tell you where it began, I suppose, was when I bought my own very first horse when I worked at Whitecattle Stud years ago, and we'd Pompey Court at the time, and I bought a foal, or I bought a mare and she had a foal, a Pompey Court colt, and I needed a mate for it. Whitecattle Stud weren't producing foals for the weaning sales in those days, so I went and bought another foal, so I produced my own too.
Right.
And I did okay, and etc. etc. But I've always considered that there's, it's a huge trading option for.
Well, I think it's a great option. I mean, Ron and Jan Taylor used to do it in a small way as well.
Yeah, that's right. They're special, and they all, But it turns your business into a 12-month.
Yeah.
Into a 12-month business, and I'm never shy. I've never been shy of seeing people do well and make profit on your horses.
Because that's the key to being ongoing, though. And this is where we talked about the Bruce and Maureen Harvey saying they know what they're getting, the horses are well prepared, they go on. Is that there is a margin in it for the next person. Okay, it doesn't always happen, but there is.
Yeah, there's the potential of the margin, but there's the potential of the risk,
Yeah.
And, an awful lot of our own horses that we put through are owned by our clients who need to generate that cash flow on a more regular basis than waiting to see can it happen at a yearling sale. So it suits them, but at the same time, I'll stand by an awful lot of our horses. I'll bid on probably, to some level, on 1 in every 3 or 1 in every 4. I've got that much confidence in my own horse.
With a view to going on. And
well, it helps the vendor, but it also it's an endorsement.
You've got a waiting list of people wanting to get in on the weanling sale?
Look, I prefer, in all honesty, my preference is to look after the people who've got horses on the farm 12 months of the year, and whereby I can stand. I'm less tolerant of second-hand horses now, I suppose, in some ways, and I'd much prefer to, there was a foal born last night now, and, it's nice to know that every step of the way
you've been there.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, you talked about your 2 boys, Patrick and Liam. Have they got any interest in horses?
They're developing an interest,
yeah.
Without getting their hands dirty at the moment.
Oh, is that right?
No, I should take that back. They're starting to come out and they've got their own mare now. She's going to have a yearling at the sales next year in the festival session.
Jeez, I'm looking forward to one of them standing behind the box, eh?
Yeah, they were there last January, looking out, enjoying it all. Yeah.
I mean, because your life, the separation of your marriage, hasn't been easy with so much work and everything else.
No, but sure, listen, it's evolved and we've got through, and it's...
We've all been there.
Yeah, all been there. Yeah, most people, lots have.
Yeah, we can't say everybody. You and I can't say everybody.
Look,
but
they're two great boys. They've got a wonderful mum, and...
is she still involved? Robin's still involved in the horse?
Not really. I'd say just she's teaching now and loves that, and I'm sure it keeps a reasonable interest, and particularly for the boys.
Your involvement, you say, with Curraghmore coming through the yearling. So we've seen, as you say, going over, you're getting the Encosta Lagers, now the Fastnet Rocks coming in. I mean, do you go over and select them, or does Michael Kerman say, hey, listen, we've got a few here for you?
No. I go over because I want to. It's important when you're selling a horse. You need to
have that faith.
Yeah, you need to have, as far as your judgment goes, feel one that you can sell the horse. But more and more we've always achieved in the sale ring.
And you're a very good judge.
And so I want to know more. That I've got confidence that this lad can be a racehorse. Yeah. I don't want to fill my barn with, which I could with pedigrees.
Yeah.
I almost feel a personal responsibility to. Well, I do genuinely feel a personal responsibility when people buy horses from me. That the horse should go on and do well, and I know they all don't, but at least that I can stand by it, and that I can actually recommend they buy the horse, and not be saying, buy it in one hand and think this horse has got no chance. So, regardless of their pedigree, Yeah. So we go over 3 weeks after, in the 3rd week of February, I'll go over and go through all the foals owned by the boss and look at them all, and we'll have 2 more, and you'll write your notes, and then you'll go back and see them again, because they change and you're only seeing them for a brief 2 minutes every time, and by the time we get to the week after the May sales here, we'll go through and do our final inspection, and
You sort of draft them up.
Yeah,
then.
yeah, and you know, I know what. So every time you're putting up your hand for a better horse the whole time.
Yeah. Hey, Curraghmore developed. You'd gone from 160 acres. You've got another property out at.
Yeah, we've got a lovely farm.
How long have you had that?
9 years now,
Yeah.
and Rob looked after it for quite a while. And then when we sorted everything out, it's a beautiful farm on the main Cambridge.
So you own that, and you still lease.
Retain a lease on the other farm,
yeah.
and there's a great compatibility there in terms of how both operations work. And so we raise all our young horses out on the Teamuda farm, and the main farm is the engine room.
It's given you opportunity of pinhooking. We've got some beautiful shots here, beautiful Waikato country. Gives you the opportunity, I suppose, of pinhooking yourself. You've talked about the odd mare that you've bought. A while back, you bought a mare and foaled a Tauke.
Yeah, I did too.
I love that. I love the smile on your face when you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, because look, there's only one way to keep going in this game, and you've got to be by the ring, etc., etc. And this Tristram mare was going through, and she'd actually been sold at the Highview Dispersal. Yeah. And I was there till the bitter end one day and noted her, or somebody might have mentioned that she'd been repossessed and was going back through the ring again. I think she'd made 30 grand at the Highview on-farm dispersal. Right. Well, I thought I bought her for 3, but I ended up giving 10 for her.
Is that right?
With the presumption that she had a hope that she had a colt in her by a line who is a good sire and was doing well in Hong Kong, had 1 or 2 good horses. Okay. Alas, she had a filly.
I thought it was Tauke.
Or should I say Tauke? That's right. Yeah. No, I don't know where a line came.
Line. Yeah, well, you're thinking of Highview.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got a Tauke filly on the ground.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he was doing really well in Hong Kong, and look, she was a big scopy filly and didn't really have a lot of value because the mare had good blood, but was actually a failed brood mare. And John Hunter actually are vet for all those years, and he used to always say, this is
the one you keep in race.
Well, he used to always say, this is your foundation, you know. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And
I mean, you win the Royal Stakes with her.
Yeah, well, look,
you described it as your biggest thrill in racing.
Well, it was, yeah, it was, because it's funny how things worked out. But Mike Moroney came over to look at a client's horse after the Breeze Up sale one year, and came out to the farm and was just in awe of the place. And without any, I tried to do my best to support all the trainers out there, and I don't have a lot of numbers going into work, etc., etc. But he was looking at this filly in the paddock, and he said, "What's that filly?" And I said, "Oh, she's by Tauke. Do you want to train her?" That's
basically how it came about.
Yeah.
And the rest, as they say, is history. Because she came out as Chicharita.
Chicharita.
Let's get it right. Chicharita.
Yeah, she was named.
What's the name from?
She was named after
over on the inside next is a now famous E, followed by Chicharita and
Xavier Hernandez, who plays centre forward for Man United.
Yeah, he does too. Yeah, that's right. Chicharita. That's right. Yeah, scored the day I was there. I went and watched Man U play Everton.
Right, scored the other day. And anyway, so she was named after him because it was.
And here she is in the Maroney colours down the outside.
Coming down the outside, and we set the plan up, and she was always going to win. Even though she looked like she was slogging it out, but she'd been given a great ride by Chad Ormsby, who absolutely did an enormous job developing her confidence. And that plan
came off. Yeah.
It came off going right back to the day she ran 5th in the Annie Sarton, beaten 2.9 lengths by Anna Bandana, just having a run to see what she might do at the back.
Hey, listen, you sold her though. Sold her to Surgeon Home.
Yeah, I did. Nearly broke my heart.
Take the money though?
Oh, well, everybody was telling me I had to, and I was hoping she'd fail the vet.
Is that right?
I was, because I thought she could go on, and we turned down a lot of money for her after she'd won at the Twilight meeting at Ellerslie that I told no one about. I wanted her to go away, and it was a big bet for me to. We were offered 300,000 for her after that, and rolled the dice, and she went up there and
won the Royal Stakes.
And I.
Gets rid of a fair chunk of the mortgage, I dare say.
Oh, it did. And they bought her well, even though she ran 4th in the Derby afterwards on a very limited preparation.
Well, this would have given you a great thrill this year, 2013 at Curraghmore, when lot 63 walks in the ring. John Camilleri, fairway, involved. You've talked him into sending the colt over to be sold with you, and it all worked out. Here it is, very early in the sale too.
Yeah, it was early in the sale, and look, I was just delighted to have the opportunity to sell the horse, and knew he was up to attaining the level in the ring that he did as one of the best horses in the sale, and you know, we got the job done with him basically.
Yeah. David Ellis was in on the horse, Peter Moody was in on the horse, but it was Curraghmore that bought the horse, and Michael Kerwin's on the phone, and he's on the phone to the boss.
By all accounts, yeah, he was. They were back and forth to Barbados at the time for the previous 72 hours. Well, there, weren't they? There was a bit of mixed opinion as to whether they should buy the horse, and so they were basically bidding from Barbados. You know.
Yeah. It took forever to sell. There's Andrew Seabrook standing with Peter Moody, who was keen on the horse, Michael Kerwin on the phone. And did you think he was going to make the two?
It didn't really bother me. I was hoping Curraghmore would end up with the horse, because I know I've been to the sales with him over the years, and I know he's, in my mind, I knew he was right up with the best horses that they'd bought. Yeah. Regardless of whether he goes on and achieves or not, but I didn't think they could but buy the horse, and I think we needed. I was just really happy for them to buy the horse.
Got to ask you this as we come to the end of Off the Track. What I know that you coached your boys' soccer, because I coached my boys' soccer and we went head to head a couple of times. Is that one of your outlet passions that you get involved in? That still the side of things?
I just loved the going down to the school on a Thursday afternoon and on a Saturday morning. Yeah. Mark putting up the corner flags, the team talk, just watching the little ones develop from.
As you do with your horses.
Yeah, from the.
What else do you do? Anything particular? Read books? Do you?
Not a lot.
Live and breathe horses, don't you?
I do, but in the last couple of years now, I've got lots of things that I want to do, you know, in time. So. Well,
we thank you for the hour you have given of your time with us, Gordon Cunningham.
Thank you, Steve.
Congratulations on your success. Long may you be the king of Curraghmore. Well, we look forward to your draft next year.
I think I've had my highlights, so that's all right.
I don't think so. More is to come. The ongoing story of Gordon Cunningham. That has been another Off the Track.
Off the Track was brought to you by Windsor Park Stud, your first choice for stallions.